This is the first of a series of short lectures designed to review and highlight important concepts in your reading. You should always take notes. No lecture is longer than 15 minutes. This first lecture will outline the major long-term and short-term causes of World War I. We'll begin with a brief overview. There are three characteristics that I want to highlight in this overview. The first is that the war was fought all over the world and that total casualties came close to 20 million. The biggest battles, the longest battles, took place in Europe. The war killed both soldiers and civilians, and it devastated both towns and countryside. The war caused death and destruction in the Middle East and Africa, wherever the fighting took place. The second characteristic in this overview is that colonies from all over the world took part in the fighting in World War I. Colonial soldiers fought in the war. They contributed resources to the war. Women also took part in the war effort, participating in taking on responsibilities outside the home as part of the total war effort. So, the war was fought all over the world. Casualties approached 20 million. Colonies fought for the European countries, contributing both men and resources, and women took on new roles as part of the total war effort. Historians outline four main long-term causes. They are militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. You can remember these four causes with the acronym MAIN. Militarism is one of the important causes of World War I. It involves the arming of the different European countries. Germany was competing with the United Kingdom to build battleships. The British feared an attack on their empire. Germany was competing with Russia and France to expand their armies. In this graphic, you can see, for example, the expansion of the armies of France, Germany, and Russia. In 1880, for example, Germany went from 1.3 million men to 5. France from 750,000 to 4, and Russia from less than 500,000 to 1.2 million. Another aspect of militarism was the spending that these countries used during this time on ammunition and arms. Britain went from 117 million to 430 million. All these countries increased their spending on the war or the possibility of war. Another important element or factor in the beginning of World War I were the formation of alliances that went back to the middle of the 19th century. By 1914, all the major powers were linked by a system of alliances. The alliances made it more likely that a war would start, and that once started, the alliances made it more likely to spread. Here in this graphic, we see the Triple Entente of Russia, France, and Britain, and the Triple Alliance of Italy, Austria-Hungary, and Germany. Imperialism was another important factor in the beginning of World War I. All the great powers were competing for colonies and territory. The British feared Germany and Africa. The Austrians feared Serbia and Austria and the Balkans, and all competed for resources to power their munitions factories. So imperialism played an important part in the beginning of World War I. Another factor was nationalism. Nationalism played an important part because this was an age when all nations wanted to assert their power and independence. In Europe, Slavs, aided by Serbia and Russia, wanted to be free of Austrian rule. This is a critical point to understand. The Austria-Hungarian Empire was a huge empire that included part of the Balkans and Eastern Europe, especially Bosnia-Herzegovina and Serbia. In 1908, Austria-Hungary annexed Bosnia, and Serbia resented it. Why? Because Serbia, like other parts of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, was one of a number of different ethnic minorities with different religions, ethnic backgrounds, and languages. Serbia is a nation or a people, a Slavic people. Russia is a Slavic nation, and they watched carefully what was happening in the Balkans to their Slavic brothers. So nationalism will play an important part in the beginning of World War I. Let's review for a minute. There were four long-term causes in World War I. On this stick of dynamite, we see militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. The fuse that will ignite World War I is the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Here we see a picture of the Archduke and a picture of the German Chancellor Wilhelm. The crisis begins in Bosnia-Herzegovina when the Archduke and his wife Sophia decide to visit the capital, Sarajevo, in an attempt to try to tamp down the nationalistic tensions. Instead, his visit will inflame those tensions. In fact, a secret society by the name of the Black Hand will attempt to assassinate the Archduke when he arrives in Sarajevo. Here we see the carriage carrying the Archduke and his wife Sophia on their way to the Bosnian capital of Sarajevo. Someone does throw an incendiary device at the carriage as they approach the capital, but it does not go off and no one is harmed. However, when the Archduke and his wife decide to leave the capital and return to the train station and stop at a stop sign in the middle of the city, Gavrilo Princip steps forward and fires two shots. One hits the neck of the Archduke and the other hits the abdomen of the pregnant Sophia. Guards immediately apprehend Gavrilo Princip and beat him and take him into custody. The assassination of the Archduke is the spark that will start World War I. Let's take a look. Austria formally declares war on Serbia. Austria declares war on Serbia after giving them an ultimatum. After the Archduke is shot, Austria says to the Serbs, "Arrest everyone who was involved in the assassination and let the Austrians help in that search." The Austrians did not agree to all those terms. That's when Austria declared war on Serbia. That started a chain of events. Germany immediately issued a blank check to Austria. That blank check said to the Austrians, "We will help and support you in any way we can, with arms, with men." Russia begins to mobilize their troops when they see that Austria has declared war on their Slavic brothers. the alliance system now goes into effect. Russia begins to mobilize. Germany declares war on Russia. Germany has a plan called the Schleiffen Plan to end the war quickly. Fearing a war on two fronts, the Germans adopted the Schleiffen Plan to sweep through neutral Belgium and on to France, encircling Paris. The aim was to knock France out of the war quickly before Russia could mobilize. They go through neutral Belgium, and Belgium portrays that movement as barbaric, a crime, say the Belgians. So, there are 4 steps to war after first Austria declares war on Serbia. Then Russia mobilizes. Germany responds with the Schleiffen Plan. England declares war. So let's look at number 1 very quickly. What was Austria-Hungary to do? It's important to realize that Austria hated Serbia anyway. Nationalism threatened the very existence of the polyglot empire, and the Austrian Chief of Staff, General Hotzendorf, had asked for a surprise war to destroy Serbia more than 25 times in the 8 years after 1906. Russia mobilizes. The Serbs had wrong-footed the Austrians. On June 28, for example, everyone in the world had supported the Austrians. Now they looked unfair, unreasonable, and war-mad. As the Austrian army shelled Belgrade, the capital of Serbia, the Serbians called up their army and asked their ally, Russia, for help. What was Russia to do? Germany's response, the Schleiffen Plan, to allow a country to mobilize against you without response, said the Germans, was like allowing someone to hold a loaded gun to your head without doing anything. Of course, the Germans knew what they were going to do. They had a plan called the Schleiffen Plan, after the German Chief of Staff, Alfred von Schleiffen. And finally, England declares war. The British Foreign Secretary, Sir Edward Grey, had spent the crisis trying to get the different countries to negotiate. Lloyd George described them as being like the weak chairman of a tempestuous committee, calling out an appealing but not compelling voice. Order, order. So let's go back to the events that started the war. This is an animated map that will show you the events, hopefully, if the animation works. Here it is. I'll go full screen.
1914, the procession of the Archduke of Austria was making its way towards City Hall in Sarajevo when a bomb was hurled in its direction. The Archduke, seated in the second car, was uninjured and was able to continue his route. A half hour later, while returning, the procession passed in front of Schiller's store, where a young Bosnian Serb, Gavrilo Princip, was waiting. Princip fired 2 shots, mortally wounding the heir to the Austrian throne and his wife. This attack was carried out by a group of young Bosnian nationalists hostile to the Austrian presence. In the weeks that followed, the Viennese government used the event to challenge Serbia, which was planning to bring together all the southern Slavic peoples into a greater Yugoslavia, thus threatening the unity of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. 28th of July, Vienna declared war on Serbia and bombed Belgrade. The 30th of July, Russia, Serbia's protector, declared a general mobilization. The 1st of August.
We won't have time to finish this map animation, but I hope you get the general idea, the 4 main causes of the war, and then the 4 steps to war after the assassination of the Archduke.